ask us. And now game one of Wednesday night StarCraft, August 3rd, Vile Gaming versus vV Gaming. Vile Domarin versus vV Zog on Shakura's Plateau. This will be a Terran versus Zerg.
Yeah, so let's I guess talk about this matchup a little bit. Perhaps the metagames changed after MLG Anaheim, which I know you attended, and I guess the star of the show, not only the Koreans, but the Blue Flame Hellion in pretty much all matchups.
Yeah, that was pretty much a huge surprise. I was making some jokes with some of the other casters out there who were watching the game, like who knew that changing the icon from red to blue would have such a profound impact, as there was just a number of worker kills. Whenever there was a Terran player, you'd see Hellion run bys, Hellion drops, and then Hellions being used. So we'll see whether or not Domarwin will be using that strategy, as he is going for a front door seal, building up a supply depot right over here by the ramp. Meanwhile, Zog, you don't see anything coming in from him just quite yet. It's a little bit too early to tell what he's going for.
Yeah, I think I like seeing the Hellion sort of be the star of the show, just because it's going to force not only Terran players to learn how to use it after they saw how powerful it is, but also Zerg, Protoss, and Terran players alike are going to have to learn how to defend against it, how to spot drops, perhaps SimCity a little bit better around their mineral lines, so the Hellions can't just wheel and deal and have free space behind those minerals where they can get some huge shots, because 4 or 5 Hellions can just decimate a mineral line, set you back several minutes on a push you want to make, or a timing you want to hit. So I think everybody's going to have to both learn to use them, just because they've been shown to be so powerful, as well as defend against them now. So it adds just another wrinkle to an already pretty deep game.
Yeah, now taking a look back in the game currently, you can see Domarin going for a double racks opening here on Shakura's Plateau, and he built his barracks on the low ground ramp, not in the middle of the valley, but over here right outside his natural expansion. I'm assuming there will be a third barracks as well. That third barracks will then complete this wall-in attempt, so that the Zerglings are not going to be able to run by, and Zog will have to just defend against this early aggression very well.
Yeah, Turak's a very popular opening on this map. You can either continue to push out more and more Marines, as well as SCVs, get some bunkers down, or you can just macro up behind it and place down that fast command center, complete the wall off, as you mentioned, with just one more barracks. So we'll see sort of which strategy, the more defensive or more aggressive strategy Damarin does choose to go for here. Right now, just the first Marine on his way over, ready to cause a little bit of havoc. Zog does have an Overlord out in front of his hatchery, so we'll see how he's able to defend this. Usually a Zerg player has to pull a number of drones, micro quite well, as we see the first drone working on that SCV, trying to prevent the bunker from going up.
Yeah, so one drone now retreating home. You can see the Overlord taking a little bit of damage, as well as Zerglings now being trained. It looks like we are going to have 6 drones, a 7th drone now coming in from the backside as well, getting some damage here. The bunker has been now left to itself, as that SCV down to 15 hit points. I believe that bunker will just be canceled, as Zerglings are going to be able to destroy it. And now drones transferring over here. It doesn't look like we're going to see any continued aggression as of yet, as we can see double refineries now being placed down. But I don't know if Zog actually knows about this. I don't know if he saw the refineries, and if he doesn't, he may accidentally train up too many Zerglings.
Yeah, I mean, the Terran player wants to force Zerglings, wants to force a reaction, and already we see 10 Zerglings out and a Spinecrawler going down as well. So this might be a little bit too much in the way of defenses and Zerglings for Zog, unless he wants to push out here, but pretty soon that wall-up will be complete, as we see more and more Marines coming out of those racks. But it looks like Damarin did decide to go for more of a defensive 2 racks opening, and now Zog has to do a little bit of damage here with these links to make them worthwhile. I know some high-level Zerg players like to trade those links for Marines, even though it seems like you're going to be taking some losses. Just the fact that you have 10 Zerglings right now, quite worthless at this point in the game for a Zerg player. He'd much rather have just 4 to 6 Zerglings and be able to squeeze out an extra drone or two.
Yeah, exactly. Zog did have a Spinecrawler, was able to stop that incoming SCV. So with one Spinecrawler on the ramp and now some Queens, I believe that Zog should just be trying to power drone. The real issue now is that we are seeing double factories coming in from Domarin, and with double factories, it normally means that he's going to be training up 2 Hellions at the same time, and then also trying to research that Blue Flame, which became oh so popular over the weekend. Taking a look at the harvester count, 27 drones compared to 24, but we all know how much damage those Blue Flame Hellions can deal.
And Zog already has his hatch at the natural here being created into a lair, so he's going to have tier 2 really fast, and we'll see what he does with it, what he chooses to go for, whether it's mutas or infestors, as a lot of Zerg players would take a quick third when they see a Terran player like this expanding, but one option is to tech up, and we do see right now just 2 gas being mined for Zog, so once he does get this lair tech, we'll see what he goes for. It looks like it might be for Baneling speed, as we do have a Baneling nest coming out.
Yeah, now the only real concern I have, oh, Zog now moving in with an Overlord, and he will spot this double factory, so I'm assuming that he will throw down a Roach Warren if he responds correctly. These double factories do normally mean Hellions. There is one tech lab as well, and we do see the Roach Warren now coming in. Also, tech to tier 2 has completed, so the Glio reconstitution, the movement speed on those Roaches are going to be very, very important as well, as Zog may decide to train up another queen in order to perhaps get some creep tumors down and have more room to maneuver.
And Domirin just now adding the tech lab onto a rack, so Stim going to be a little bit late coming out. It hasn't even started yet, but I imagine he's actually going for combat shields first, so interesting choice by him. He might work some sort of timing here where he comes out with a lot of Marines along with these Blue Flame Hellions, and we'll see whether the Zergling and Baneling mix from Zog here is able to deal with it. He will have out Roaches here shortly as well. That Roach Warren just finishing. Needs to really get some creep spread here as well. Looks like he's going for his third, and the third's going to be a pretty good target for Domirin here once he does get this timing with Blue Flame and Combat Shield to try to take that down. I think that was a little bit delayed for Zog. We'll see whether he's able to defend it.
Yeah, one of the things I'm interested in is that Domirin doesn't have a starport. Normally, the only way to really get Hellions inside a base on a map like this is to use dropped or metavacs in order to do a drop inside, but the Hellions may simply be just trying to run by here in just a moment. They're first going to check this hatchery over here. This hatchery will most likely just get canceled, as that there's enough Hellions to actually take it down. Hellions do not deal that much damage, but they can just focus this down. But this is buying time for Zog to react and respond. Now moving out a couple of Roaches as well. Those Roaches are going to have a difficult time, but it looks like those Hellions should be able to perhaps at least force a cancellation here on Shakura's Plateau.
Yeah, Domirin, an interesting decision. He could have taken those Hellions up into the natural. Now we see a surround happening for Zog, as all those Hellions no longer getting shots off, and a number of them do go down, and these Roaches are out for blood here, or whatever is inside of a Hellion, maybe some fuel, as they want to take these down and eliminate that threat. Domirin just on these 2 bases, and this is a significant investment for him. These Blue Flame Hellions, he hasn't been able to do any damage. He didn't even force a cancel on this third hatch.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really bad now, as the Hellions are now going to simply just walk down the ramp. The Zerglings may be able to perhaps get another surround here. The Blue Flame Hellion has completed, or has attacked, and then down goes the last of those Hellions there. So, wow, that was not very much damage dealt at all. Perhaps Domirin doesn't quite know how to drive his Hellions yet.
Yeah, well, they are pretty fast and wild sometimes, but I think it was just decision making. He really didn't need to take on that third. Hellions don't do so hot against hatcheries. As you noticed, he was able to take down about half the life, but he could have sent out his Marines at that point to take that down, or waited until it was saturated and come in with Hellions. But that huge investment in Blue Flame as well as those Hellions just wasted at this point. Now he has tanks coming out of these factories, both with tech labs on them, so he's going to do a full transition into the more, I guess, standard tank Marine here. And as you mentioned before, he's just now adding starports, so he's not going to have those medevacs, and Stim not yet finished. He's not going to be able to push out for a while. I think this is looking really good for Zog.
Yeah, I don't really know what Domirin can really transition into. It doesn't look like he'll be able to put down any pressure for quite some time. We can see a macro hatch now coming in from Zog. Zog also expanding off to the top left-hand side as well. And this may cause a lot of problems for Domirin. Domirin, we do see a large number of Marines and siege tanks now moving out the front door. The Roaches do spot the hatch, or the command center now being placed down for a third, as the Mutalisks try to get in some damage as well, but unable to do anything as there is a missile turret.
Yeah, Zog looking to get some harassment done with these mutas. He didn't invest in too many mutas, but now he does know that these forces are out in the middle of the map here, trying to secure that third. And I think this is a smart move by Domirin. He can't really attack at this point, can't stim up without those medevacs, but what he can do is move into a better position and take a third. He knows that his Zerg opponent just got up his own third, so he wants to try to stay even on bases, and Zog doing a nice job taking a fourth now in the northwest corner.
Yeah, roaches and banelings. A siege tank running around the wrong way, quickly getting picked off there, and now siege tanks blasting off at the center. Mutalisk going a little bit too far, losing control of them for just a moment. But we are getting 8 more Mutalisks currently being trained up, and we are now sitting at 66 harvesters compared to 57. Only marines and tanks so far coming in from Domiran.
Yeah, and he got up that starport, and he's taking a little while to add the reactor and get out some medevacs. So again, medevacs coming out quite late. It's going to be uncomfortable for Domiran to push out here, but creep spread not so hot for Zog at this point. Perhaps at this point of the game, you want it maybe closer to those towers, as it's very important once you do have those speedlings and speed banelings to be able to get in on those marines and tanks as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the Marines, one thing to keep track of, they do have that level 1 weapons upgrade. Level 2 about to, or just being started as the level 1 armor upgrade now coming in. The Mutos may be able to just finish off these Marines. The Marines getting over a little zealous, not realizing the numbers as the Mutos are now going after missile turrets. One missile turret is destroyed, but now being forced to pull back once again. The siege tanks are all left alone in the center, but luckily for Domiran, there were no Mutalisks nearby to hunt them down.
Yeah, and this is smart by Zog. Domiran trying to get into this position we see so often in this matchup on this map, Shakuras Plateau, where the Terran player sieges up in the center, hugs up against those cliffs, and starts spreading out his marines. And it can be a very difficult position to break as a Zerg player, especially once the missile turrets and the sensor towers go up, as Zog and Domiran just sort of trying to bait each other back and forth. No player blinking at this point, but Domiran is set up right outside the front door of Zog. Zog just close to max now. He might push out.
Yeah, Zog sitting at 197. Production-wise, he has 58 Zerglings, so these Zerglings will be swarming in just a moment, and Zog needs to bust this game open. Otherwise, Domiran will be able to get up to 200 food as well. And here comes the aggression. Zerglings now trying to swarm in. Mutalisks coming in from behind. Zerglings just causing all this havoc here, and it looks like the front will be completely melted away. Are there enough Banelings is the key question, and it looks like Zog catching Zog just completely running over Domiran at this point, and now may be able to clean this up. Domiran is in full retreat, regather mode.
Yeah, and more Mutas coming out, and what we're going to get up to is that big flock of Muta numbers. He's got 18 at the moment and another 10 on the way, so pretty soon he's going to have close to 30 Mutalisks. Very difficult to take on. You can actually take on big groups of Marines with that amount of Mutalisks, and right now Zog just doing huge damage to the SCV lines of Domiran. If he hadn't lost after that push failed, that bit of harassment and the kind of the trade of armies there definitely put Zog in a great position.
Yeah, Zog currently is sitting on about 2,000 resources, 2,300. He should be able to easily power any unit out. You can see that he's currently training up another 42 Zerglings and perhaps going in for another swarm. One of the problems is that Domiran's orbital command is not a planetary fortress. It is very, very much exposed. Down goes the sensor tower as the Marines once again try to make their way over and shut down those Mutalisks, but those Mutalisks will soon be 2-0 upgrades, and now also those Zerglings and those Banelings are going to have 2-2 upgrades, meaning that the Banelings are going to melt those Marines even more quickly.
We've got another 7 Mutas on the way, adding to the 23 already on the field. We do have a Thor coming out for Domiran, so if he's able to get a Thor or 2 out, they could definitely force a little bit more micro magic box from Zog. Obviously, in great numbers, Muta's still able to take on those Thors, but it can be a little bit more difficult, and Zog still doing damage, taking out that gas that's going to shut down tank and Thor production. If he's able to get another gas or 2, that definitely hurts, and just more and more Mutas along with Lings coming out for Zog. He's almost maxed once again. He has that 4th up and running, now making his way into the main, and if he can get to the production of Domiran, the Terran player could be in huge trouble.
Yeah, the Mutalisk just running straight inside, not caring about the missile turrets. The anti-air defense, not enough to really handle the sheer number of Mutalisks, but in comes a Thor, and that Thor did get 1 round of missile attacks. Those Mutalisks were clumped together, so a lot of splash damage was dealt there, so perhaps the Mutalisks will need to regroup and then try to back away from that Thor.
Yeah, Muta's swinging into the 3rd here for Domiran and able to take down a few more SCVs. There are only 48 SCVs left compared to the 62 drones of Zog. Zog maxed once again. Gonna go for another bust, morphing in a number of Banelings, 25 on the way. So pretty soon he'll have about 30 Banelings, 30 Mutas, and he will be pushing out shortly.
Yeah, the Mutalisks are now backing away from that Thor, rightfully so. They do not want to try to engage, and now the Banelings are perhaps going to be trying to push in. The Banelings are going to engage. Down goes the Thor. The Thor going to get taken down rather easily. Zerglings, Banelings continuing to roll into this position, and the Mutalisks are just picking off the reinforcements. But I think that trade was actually better for Domirin, as it looks like Zog is now in a little bit of a regroup mode.
Yeah, definitely. All those Banelings, all they did was take down the Thors, and that's a trade the Terran player will definitely take. Muta's still not so great against Marines, and as long as those Banelings don't hit the Marines, I think Domirin going to be very happy. Pushing out once again. This time he does have this tank and Marine force, but it's got medevac support, and again the creep has been pushed back a little bit, so Zog doesn't really have home field advantage here with the way that Domirin has sieged up.
Yeah, the Marines are now running all the way back. It looks like the Banelings are going to be able to find some of their targets. The Marines now just simply stimming, and the Mutalisks are getting destroyed, but the Banelings are trying to find their way in. Are they going to be able to melt any more Marines? And I think this trade was actually better for Zog this time around, as the Marines are not grouped up close enough. But then again, it looks like the food count has switched, so I take it back. Domirin getting the upper hand in that battle.
Yeah, definitely. Catching Zog with some Banelings being morphed in, and again, he doesn't have creep spread to the center of the map, so everything's just a little bit slower. He attacked with his Lings and his Banelings, but then came in late with those Banelings just morphing in. And yeah, Zog's entire bank has been exhausted at this point. He can't really remax as fast as Domirin. Domirin working on another command center, he could land it for a fourth, but it looks like he's looking to make things very uncomfortable for Zog. Pushing in. He does have a lack of tanks. There's a few more coming across the field here shortly, but he has replaced those Thors, so he's going to have to watch out for these Banelings. No splash damage right yet. We'll see whether Zog is able to do much damage.
Yeah, the Marines are now trying to stem around, coming across the corner. It looks like Domirin now going to move into the natural, or the third base that we mentioned earlier, and now going back for revenge. The Queen now coming to engage. Mutalisks now coming in. Banelings coming in from behind, trying to get to those Marines, unable to do so. Once again, the Thors are taken down, but the Banelings finally finding their targets a little bit more this time. The medevacs also getting picked apart, and the Mutalisks going after Marines. It doesn't look like a very even fight there, as those Marines are upgraded 3-2. A Spine Crawler even joining in on the battle, and it looks as though the hatchery may get shut down, but there are now more Marines coming in, doing a little bit of a pincer attack here, and Zog is in trouble, and there's the GG.
Wow, that game went back and forth, and one player is ahead, and then the other, and then I think that Zog's definitely going to regret a few decisions there. I think he had that game at one point, but Domirin staying strong, not panicking, and eventually able to pull that one out.
Yeah, if you take a look at the final score, Zog actually outscoring his opponent just by a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Zog's army at that stage was so much weaker. It really felt like Zog had an opportunity to attack. He had the ability to be able to just dump out units, but I think what we were really missing was Infestors. I think Infestors would have been able to slow down that push, getting off one or two fungal growths, slowing down those Marines, and then being able to just surround and sweep hit his targets. Those Marines just had too much mobility with that stim.